Well, hello there, guys, and welcome back. This is Ariel. This is the Nexus of Geek channel. Um, Welcome to another D&D Saturday. It might be even Sunday by the time I get this uploaded, edited, and uploaded. Um, I wanted to go ahead. It's been a long time, and I wanted to drop a video and to say that I apologize, but I was trying to upgrade my equipment, and I did finally go ahead and invest on a seal sound, kind of a USB microphone, and I'm hoping that this I got the levels. Sound levels to just the right amount, I think, the right frequency. We're playing around with it and play around with it some more to see if it improves. I wanted to improve the sound quality of my videos. And another thing that I wanted to do in the new year in 2025 is I want to upload more content and more videos on a regular basis and on more about regular schedule, and so do more weekend Saturday, either Saturday or Sunday, D&D Saturday or D&D Sunday, depending on how that works on my schedule. And then the middle of the week, like Wednesday or Thursday, drop a video there on a different topic. And then on Sundays, I am doing I started running a 5e game over Discord with some friends. We played last year and it was a lot of fun. And I was pretty new to the Discord app. I'll have, even though I actually signed up for Discord, Roll20 and Discord. So we use the sound for, like a lot of people do for on Discord, and then we use Discord for sound rather, and then we use Roll20 for the actual gameplay, like a lot of people do. And I was pretty new to the Roll20 application, even though I signed up for it like back in 2013 or so. I wasn't doing a lot of online game. I was lucky enough to play some table, around the table, like with people in the normal way that tabletop gaming actually happens around 2015, around the time that fifth edition dropped, and 5e was still pretty new at the time. It had been rolled out, but we were still kind of playing some fourth edition games with my group because the DM had spent all the resources and dropped some money on the core books for fourth edition and was pretty well versed in that system. And I enjoyed it. It was what it was. I'm not one of those people that are down on fourth edition by any means. I remember playing and it was a lot of fun. Then the last couple of years it's been 5e, of course, and after COVID I started running my own. During COVID, actually around 2021, on the weekends I started running my regular 5e game, which has been going now for 2.5, almost gonna be coming up to 3 years, which is crazy how time moves. But now I am doing a Discord game online as well, and I am using some OSR rules for it because I kind of prefer the OSR rules, more low resource type gameplay, and that was inspired by a video I saw from the Mage Musings channels, and I'll put a link to that in the description box below. But basically, it inspired me to add some elements to the 5e game that are more OSR oriented, and that also was playing some looking back and playing a first edition game. Looking back to my old books, like here you see as the background a copy of the 8th printing of the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide for first edition, the OG DMG guide, and I quite like some of the things that are in there, and I'm going to try to do kind of like a mini series on some elements that I want to incorporate from the old game into the new edition. So sit back, relax. This is not going to be too long of a exposition or too long of a video even, but I do want to talk about some things that I think are interesting in the old mechanics that I think can really fit if your players, are willing to into a 5e game. All right, guys. So here we go. The first thing I want to, even before we get into I wanted to talk about gaining experience and gaining levels in the AD&D fashion. And the game that I've been running currently, which is a 5e game, we kind of did away with the XP system because of the trying out the milestone and the way that fifth edition is set up. A lot of the adventure paths are long, big books broken into kind of episodic with chapters. And if you, excuse me, if you played fifth edition, this is no new, not anything new to you. You're familiar with the way that a lot of, especially if you're DMing, you can make up your own homebrewed adventure or campaign, which a lot of people do, and I do myself. Sometimes, though, if you want to run a one shot, you can pick up an anthology, and it's a big, thick module. Well, we called them module back in the days, but they're like adventure paths. It's what Pathfinder calls them in the modern era. But, it's a book, and it gives you chapter by chapter different encounters. And the way that 5e works a lot of the time, or most of the time with these adventure books, is you get to the characters, the PCs will level up, and usually when you get to the end of a chapter which contains a number of encounters, then they move on to like the second level, gain a level, and it's up to the DM to actually adjudicate that and figure out, well, this is a good point to advance. It's kind of video gamey. I don't really, I like it and I don't like it. The one thing I do like about it is that it does away with a lot of the bookkeeping that the DM has to do in order to tally experience points. But my DM for the 1E game where I'm just a player, I noticed that the way he does it is he has a fixed amount of XP that the PCs all get at the end of each session. So that, and it's usually about 5,000 XP. And so that you're going to get your 5,000 XP no matter what, as long as you're active and participating in the session. And I kind of like that. And since I'm running a 5e game with some OSR elements that I want to incorporate into the game, I think that I'm going to get away from milestone, and I think that I will award experience points. And then later on we can talk about how that is done. I think it's interesting because much like a video game, in the modern version of Dungeons and Dragons, as long as you get your XP numbers, the amount for the next level, then you automatically level up. But that wasn't the case in if you read the original first edition DMG, it talks about how you actually have to seek out a trainer, and depending on, you're eligible to level up, but doesn't mean that it happens instantly or automatically as soon as you hit the threshold. But you have to seek out either a trainer, or if you can't find a trainer, or if you're high enough level for the next level where you can train yourself, you can forego finding a trainer, but then you still have to spend the time outside of adventuring, outside of normal encounters where you go, dungeon crawl or whatever it might be, and you have to spend both gold, resources, money, in other words, and an equivalent amount of weeks or time in the game world in order to advance to the next level, which I thought was really cool. But before any of that, I also want to talk about really quick monster reactions. I've been kind of using borrowed the monster reaction table, which can be found in the Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Masters book for the BECME rules, which came out in 1983 and before first edition. So these are actually for D&D basic, which if you know the history of the game, then you know that basic, especially the BECME version of the game, and Dungeons and Dragons, which was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons to be specific, and that we came to know as first edition, were being sold by TSR at the same time. They were concurring, different games, but they were concurrent. And the history that I know and I researched, they came out with the hardbook books for first edition. The Monster Manual was the very first one, and because they didn't have the player's handbook or the DMG, and the Monster Manual was the only thing that was out initially, a lot of people were still playing with the basic rule sets, and they would just use the AD&D Monster Manual, which was kind of weird because they didn't have the full set. And as that sort of tradition has stayed along with the over the years. But anyway, I digress. I wanted to talk about the Beg Me rule set from 1983, which was the what people refer to as the, I believe this is Moldvay, because it was edited by Tom Moldvay, and or no, maybe that was the other. That was no. I'm sorry. I'm kind of getting them mixed up. This was actually the Mentor rules. It's still the DM rulebook by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, but it was revised and edited by Frank Mentor, and that is what we call now Beg Me. But at any rate, if you pick up the Dungeon Map, or if you have a copy online, you can get a PDF somewhere. And you look up the monster reaction charts. This is in the Dungeon Master's book of the Beg Me Mentor edition, and it's on page 22. I've been incorporating that into my games because it's really interesting, and the way it works is you make a number of rolls. You use 2d6. You roll 2d6, and then whatever results you get, then it tells you how the monster is going to react. Because I got kind of bored of, like, every time you do an encounter with a monster, then you have to roll for initiative, and everybody rolls for initiative, and then it automatically becomes a combat or a battle. In 4th edition, there was some attempt by the game developers, to actually make interaction and what happens outside of combat, and they had the skill set, the skill challenges. I like the skill challenge system, but I think it didn't really work the way they intended. It's not a perfect system, and people didn't really gravitate it too much. I don't think they play tested it enough, but at least they had another option before combat, and we had options in even all the way back the early 80s with Beg Me, where you had the monster reactions, and so you roll to see how the monster would react. And there was a chance that if you had a good a character with a high charisma, you get a bonus to the roll, and you might actually the monster might be friendly, or he might be open to whatever negotiations you have, whether you're bartering. It doesn't always have to be, okay, we run into this creature and then we're gonna kill it. Even though a lot of D&D does devolve into that, I like the fact that they had this monster reaction chart, and you got to roll for it, and that there was a different outcome depending on what your role was. So that's one thing that I'm incorporating from the old, like this Mentor book, 1983, and then the other, going back to the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the DMG. I wanted to finish off talking about experience. And the way I described that gaining experience was not the way it is now, which is automatic. So you don't automatically gain levels. You have to earn. You qualify for advancement. I haven't tried this in my game yet, but I would like to try it. But basically, you're using the XP versus the milestone that we use in 5e, and the way that in the old days, the DMG first edition details experience value and treasure depending on how, because you went into a lot of dungeons, and then you would retrieve whatever treasure was there after defeating the monster. And then you would get the gold pieces, and then you would take it back to the city or your home base. And the idea was that that was equivalent to a number. The number of gold was equivalent to a defined amount of experience points, and that was set up as an incentive for the PCs or the players to actually want to adventure more and to take risks and go into a dungeon crawl and defeat monsters and get experience that way versus via the treasure that they collected. But also you have experience level regarding the power of the monster that you fight. In fifth edition, it has to do more with with CR levels. After third edition, I think that's where they started the CR rating. So each monster has a challenge rating, is what they call it, and the CR determines how tough they are. And then depending on what the CR level is, after you defeat said creature or said monster, then you get X number of XP points, and the XP is higher, obviously, the tougher the monster is. But back in the original DMG, the experience value of the monsters was very detailed, and it had to do with hit dice. So usually in the old first edition and the second edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, monsters were not... they didn't have a challenge rating. They had hit dice, and usually the hit die that is used was an eight-sided dice, a D8, and you roll the D8, and then you add a couple of more points. So if a creature was let's say an 8 hit die monster, that's usually if you take the highest, 8 times 8 is 64, so it might be like a little bit over 60 hit points. And depending on how many hit dice the monster is, then that determines the basic level of XP. So like a really tough, like a medium range, maybe like an 8 hit dice creature, 7 or 8 hit dice creature would net you 375 XP. Where if you defeat a creature that's pretty tough, 21 hit dice and up, like a dragon, or I don't remember exactly off the top of my head which creature is like 20 or 21 hit dice, but a really tough creature like that would net you like 5,000 XP right off the bat. And in addition to that, you also get additional XP per the hit points of the creature, on top of the basic value. And you also get a special ability. So if they have a special ability such as they have multiple attacks per round, and so therefore they'll be tougher to take down or tougher to defeat, or and then they have fourth category, and the fourth category is exceptional ability, such as energy level drain. Like, for example, if you're fighting a wraith or undead and vampires in first edition were a lot tougher because they would drain your levels. So you could be going into a stronghold or a monster lair, and you know that there's an undead, and if they hit you, they're gonna drain some of your levels as opposed to just lowering your health. And some people might think that's a little too much, but I kind of like the fact that made them more dangerous, and therefore, because they have that exceptional ability, defeating them would net a whole lot more bonus XP for the players, And but then I wanted to talk about training, because what happens is, okay, once you get your XP threshold, let's say you need 2,000 XP to go to the next level, then they had a formula for you to you have to go ahead and study with a trainer. And if you're at higher levels, you usually can forego that and kind of do your own study on your own. So if you're a fighter or you're a wizard, you're going to do outside of combat and outside of adventuring, you're going to put in some weeks or some time. It's measured in weeks during the game time, and the DM keeps track of the campaign time. And so but you also have to spend money. So let's say you're going to level from level 3 to level 4, and you have it's going to cost you X amount of gold, but you have some gold in your coffers, in your personal inventory, but it'll cost you like 2,000 gold per week if you're a cleric, and if you're a magic user, which is kind of the same thing as a wizard, but they didn't call them wizards. The magic user, it's 4,000 gold per week, and then you train for a number of weeks. And then after you put in the time, and it has to be continuous. You can't interrupt it. Like if you get interrupted for any reason, you have to start over and you lose the investment. So you have to put in more, the same equivalent time of money. And some people may think that that's excessive, but I think it's more realistic. Of course, in the later video games that came out, like World of Warcraft, and they don't do this now, I don't think, but MMOs and video games that were based on similar fantasy-based mechanics or themes adopted from D&D and RPGs, you do that. You go out and you have to find a trainer, and usually it's not to go up in levels, but once you get up in level, you get new abilities, but you have to find your trainer, and then your trainer trains you in that. So it's kind of the same idea, but it's kind of crazy that it came out. And this is all detailed, by the way, in the original 1E first edition DMG on page 86, 85, 86. And to me, it's kind of crazy how this old 40-year-old concept now went on to have like a lot of different mechanics to impact later games, World of Warcraft, and things of that nature, like digital games. But it all came from D&D. So anyway, I'm going to try that and see how the players react to that. And then maybe I'll make a follow-up video to talk about some other mechanics that I've incorporated in my 5e games to give it that OSR feel and to bring back some of these older mechanics. So if you like this video and you want to hear more, you're a gamer, you play RPGs and D&D like myself, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed, because I'm going to be making more, knock on wood, I'm going to be making more consistent content and videos like this in the weeks to come. Stay tuned. And thank you.